Lovely, glorious bit of sunshine. Lovely. Well, it finally feels like the tide has turned as far as the weather's concerned, because that old Sprinter was dragging on a bit, wasn't it? But now, this week, yeah, you can really feel the difference in the air and everything's coming alive, and yeah, finally, warmth is here. Anyway, right, quite a few times in the past I've put out on Instagram a question asking who you'd like to see on the show, and one name that quite often pops up is Jim Hepper. Now, Jim is an angler who's been fishing for, I think he said, over 55 years, carp fishing, and he has done, well, he's fished most of the sort of main lakes in the country. He's caught most of the big fish in the country, and as a result of that, all those years of fishing, I'm sure that this is going to be a really good feature. He's obviously got a huge amount of experience. He's caught a ridiculous amount of big carp, and yeah, he's obviously a very interesting character as well. So I'm looking forward to this. Have been for a long time. We organised it quite a long way back. So yeah, we'll speak to Jim. As you can see, he's out there getting his rods out. But I think this is his last rod now. So once he's in, we'll crack on the kettle and have a little chat about the place, set the scene a little bit. We're not allowed to mention the name of the place, but it is a large southern gravel pit and a very special little slice of heaven on earth as far as carp fishing is concerned. So yeah, it is a treat to be able to be here filming a feature, and I'm sure we're going to extract a lot of good information and hopefully entertaining stories out of Jim during the duration of my stay. So looking forward to it. Well, rods are out.
Welcome to my bit of heaven.
So, thank you very much for inviting us down here.
Absolute pleasure, Joe. I like people to see what we got. We'll never get a ticket, maybe, but yeah, it is just a stunning setting. Look at it.
Yeah, what a view.
And because we've passed him, there's only 2 people on here other than me, and that's probably what it'll be till Friday. You couldn't ask for more, mate. The carp in here are special, the water is special, the environment is special, the wildlife wanders around looking at you going, who the f*** are you? Yeah, it's something that I never thought existed anymore.
Really?
Since the early days when there were very few of us, now there's multitudes of carp anglers. Yeah, I never thought I'd find something like this. Very, very lucky. Run by a dear friend of mine, all by invitation. There is no waiting list. There are no phone numbers where you can go. Can I have a ticket? Pure invitation. Yeah.
Big old lump of water, isn't it? How big is it?
Between 75 and 80 acres, I think.
Lovely.
And as you see, you're looking at it. All that out there is mine. It's all mine.
Well, that's what's a bit different about this lake compared to most lakes in England, isn't it? It's sort of each angler kind of claims an area as
it's
such.
It's a different style of fishing. One I'm not really used to in so many words. I've been on here a year and a half. I only did half the first year because I was doing something else, and it was when I left where I told you about because of the braid ban. And Piers said, Jim, you got a ticket if you want it, mate. And I walked over here with him, and we walked down the track that we drove down, and I looked out, and there was nobody here, not a soul. And I said, what, is this it? He said, well, no, there's 2 other lakes. He said, 15-man syndicate, this is what it's always like. There ain't nobody here. And I thought, you'll do for me, kidder. Anyway, I started off trying to chase them around. I did a couple of sessions in various swims. Casting, not much boat work, just casting. I went to, excuse me, what they call a reserve. And we've already discussed that. We might talk about it later. I still don't. I'm not going to tell you how big it was. But yeah, I've seen something really special, and even the stockfish that he's put in here, 15 years ago, more, 17 years ago. He's got pictures of these, like a rogues gallery, like a lot of fishery owners do. And you go, well, look at you. You know, I mean, these things were put in here at low doubles.
Really?
You know? And you go, God, I'd love to catch you at 40 plus. You know, I really would. They are stunning. You know, you look at these fully scaled, that, you know, the black that we discussed earlier, that rolled over my drawstring. I hit the ceiling. You know.
Was that the first big one you had out of it?
That was the first big one I had. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was the first 40 I had. I don't know how many 40s there are because nobody knows, and they are growing. You know, I mean, the natural food in here, Joe, is astounding. August time, if you walk into that bit of water down there with bare feet and bare legs, the lake will try and eat you. Literally. They have a parasite in here from the snails. Piers showed me pictures of his legs. Mate, you don't want to have that. You know, that's serious stuff, right? No.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean at the moment, yeah, I sleep in shorts. I'll bounce into the water now. But in August, no, it'll be waders every damn time. But you drift over spots when the water's like this, and shrimp beds or shrimp shoals, if you like, if that's the right word for a load of shrimp. Snail beds. Goes on and where the hell does this end? You know, there's all these little black things crawling around. You know, and as we discussed, this is part of my strategy on here because I'm sort of super glued to this swim, if you like.
Yeah.
So I invite everything to the party, absolutely everything. I want to make out there a smorgasbord of carp food, going from my input through to all the crustacean and the invertebrates and every damn thing else that lives in the water that carp eat. And that's what I do. I try and achieve that with liquids, heavy liquids, as we discussed earlier. Not sure I should tell everybody how to do that, but yeah, maybe in a couple of days' time when I've had a couple of or something.
So, I mean, I guess, you know, with this kind of water, obviously, like, there's two kind of ways about going about it, isn't it? You either got to be super mobile and just fishing for a bite, or you're trying to establish dinner spots. Which
two problems with that. One is the carp don't show a great deal on here. They are bloody elusive and they are difficult to find. It's not like a water where they go, doing, you know, there's one, yeah, we'll fish here. They don't do that very much. You do see the occasional show, which again, we might discuss later on, 2 weeks ago when we had the big westerlies. Yeah, I saw 7 fish in an hour and a quarter, just mullering my spot. And as we discussed, I hadn't got bloody baits on the spots because I'd been wiped out the night before with I called it a tree. It wasn't, but it was a big old branch, and it wiped all 3 rods out definitely. So I didn't have bait on the spot. And then they proceeded to 3/4 hour roll, towel slap, you know, and they were big fish. They were. I mean, I don't think I saw one that was under 35, and some of them were proper jobs. And that's what was on the surface. What was underneath it, what wasn't showing, you know. Yeah, I could have filled my boots, I think, that particular morning, but again, no baits in the water. But we won't worry about it.
So yeah, it's all about trying to establish areas that.
The long-term game. Yeah, it's the long-term game. Last year I came on here, a spring proper, probably March time, and I started the bait going in, fermentation, liquids into the silt and the substrate. Again, you know, how I do that is probably my secret to keep. But yeah, again, I had this idea because I'm so static, and it does get, I think I said this earlier, it can get boring. You know, I'm not one for looking at the same bit of water all the time, but I've got used to it. I'm old, venerably old, some people call me, and I don't want to be jumping. I couldn't go back on the circuits. I couldn't compete with these young bucks, you know, that tear around at 200 miles an hour. You know, they're there. You know, you might have seen the fish, but by the time I've packed up, stuck it on the barra, You know, I've got an electric barrow, fine, you know. Stuck it on the barrow, I got round, there's some other bugger in there, you know, because a lot of these circuit waters now you're not allowed to buck it up, you know, so basically you got to get there first. I can't move the way they do, you know. So yeah, this suits me, and I can apply my brain to deal with this problem as it sits at the moment, and that gives me pleasure. Once it works, it gives me pleasure. You know, I've had 2 bites out of it this spring so far. I think I should have had 1 or 2 more, which is bugging me slightly. You know, certainly when those fish were bouncing around all out there, I should have had a bite then, but I didn't wait.
So when did you start prepping these spots then? We're now at the beginning of May.
Back into March.
Right.
I won't say how much bait I put out there, but it'd frighten the shit out. It's a mountain, you know. And some of the older guys on here don't appreciate it. You know, I watch them when I'm baiting up, and they go, oh, you know, he's ruining it. My simple answer is, catching loads more than you are, mate. I'm sorry. You know, the proof is in the pudding, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if you're, you know, for me, if I was them, I'd be watching what I'm doing. I'd be trying to find out what I'm putting in, and at what stage I'm putting it in. No, they don't bother. They just shake their heads and go, "Oh, he's ruining it." Well, I'm sorry. You know, as we discussed earlier, carp do 3 things: they have sex once a year, swim around, and eat. That's all a carp does. They're a feeding machine. You give them the right amount of food in the right place, they will come back to it. They will muller it, because that's what they do. They want to be healthy and grow. That's what I'm giving them, the opportunity to do that. The growth rates in here are sort of £3-4 a year. No. If I can enhance that to £5 a year, I'm going to catch something really special out of here before I fall over. You know? That's what I'm after.
But that's the thing, isn't it? When you're in these sort of lake, fishing these sort of lakes that are just like overrun with naturals, there's a literally, like I used to say it about Longreach, it's like there's every restaurant, the best restaurants available to carp dotted around the lake, and they're available to them 24 hours a day, and they know exactly where they are. Yeah. You know, so they can go and get whatever they want whenever they want it.
Animal, a cow. You stick a cow in a great big field of grass. It will always go to the tastiest, most nutritious grass. They will search it out. All animals do the same. You know, you don't see many skinny animals unless they're ill. You know, because they go to the best available food source. These things are no different. They are just, you know, we how can I say this without offending people? We like to think we can understand what these fish, we don't understand a damn thing about. They are aquatic, we are on the bank. We don't know what goes on down there, we can only surmise, you know? I mean, I said I did a lot of shooting in years past, I still do a fair bit of shooting. I'm hunting stalking a deer. I can understand that animal, because it's a terrestrial animal. It's not under the water. These things, I was going to say think, it's not the right word. They react differently to terrestrial animals. They get scent trails off for them, you know, undertows. Something that a lot of people ignore. Undertow. Wind, yeah, fine. They will follow wind. But what they're actually doing probably is following the undertow, because the undertow will go the other way. And any fish will swim against the current. That's what they do. You know, stick them in a river. They don't go downstream, they go upstream. Do a bit of salmon angling, you'll find out that how fish react to flow, you know. Yeah, so as I said, we try and understand, and I certainly do, you know. I've smoked many a thing and thought about how they behave. Hasn't really got me very far. It's enjoyable while you're doing it. You know, I mean, Rod used to do it years ago, my old mate Rod Hutchie. Yeah, he always used to, you know, he said, oh, I dream about it. Well, we all do that, don't we? But he's, yeah, no, I dream I'm swimming with it and things like, really, what have you been smoking? Yeah, he had a strange way with it. Yatesy was the same. Yeah. I understand your quarry. You ain't going to understand it 'cause you're not down there under the water with them, like, you know. You just hope you can, you know. And sometimes you get it right, a lot of times you get it wrong. But,
So with regards to this area then,
yeah.
did you obviously chose this area, what made you choose this area, and
Right.
then what made you choose the actual spots that you're
Right,
fishing?
Okay. Multitude of reasons. First, the boats can't get this side of the island.
Big
And
plus.
I'm talking about big VA Hemis, you know, in these boats. When they start up, it sounds like the Hell's Angels have gone down the bank, you know. They are proper big boats with proper big engines. And they can roar around out there with their water skiers behind them to Hartston. They can't come the other side of the island that we're looking at the moment. So bearing in mind, I've now got, what would you say, it's 30 acres, 35 acres?
It's a good old slap, isn't it?
It's a big old lump of water, and that is all mine. Right, I've been over it, well, when I first started. Right, echo sounder, excuse me, an echo sounder, time and big grid patterns going over it. In the end, I used my donking rod, which is just leaning up against the bivvy, little 4-foot stiff rod with an 8-ounce ball head on it. And I went back and forth, dunk, 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 up, down, silt, gravel. I don't tend to fish gravel these days because what lives on gravel? Stones live on gravel. That's it. Certainly not much natural lives on gravel. But I tend to look for clay spots and hard silt going into slightly softer, which all the invertebrates live on. That's where my chosen areas. In front of us here, I was told there was a plateau out there. Well, it's actually not a plateau, it's a flat top bar, quite wide, and it's not a massive bar, you know. And the echo sounder, to be honest, almost missed it, because it was only a variation of maybe a foot or less, you know. But with a donkey rod, that's interesting, you know. So basically, where my canes are at the moment, I've got permanent canes out there. There 3 at the moment. There are 2 other spots that I've got on my GPS that I could go and put them on. But at the moment, those canes out there are my go-to early summer into late summer. Yeah, and I'm on my facing side of the flat top bar, plateau, call it what you like. Runs off at an oblique angle from the other plus point of this swim is I've got a bay to my right hand side that nobody is allowed to fish. It's like a heaven. It's deep, silty. It has a water flow going into it, and the carp love it.
How come you're not allowed to fish in there then?
Well, you can. There is a swim. But I won't allow it. Sorry.
Because it's in your zone.
It's mine. Leave it alone. And God bless the rest of the syndicate. It's, again, we'll talk about this. They are the most respectful syndicate I've ever fished with. They will not. My nearest neighbour, who doesn't fish mainly when I fish, but even when he's arriving on a Thursday morning, he always arrives at 6 o'clock in the morning, always departs at 6 o'clock in the morning. Tony is probably 250-300 yards down the bank. There's 2 points down, and he's on the second point. And he will go round the back of the island. He doesn't have to. I told him, mate, you can, just don't go over me canes, but you can come this side of it. No, Jim, I'll go around the back of the island, leaving my water alone. And that's what they all do. Tonight we've got a visit from Piers, the governor, the man who runs the place. We watch him boat over. He'll probably go around the back of the island. And that's what they're all like. It's just the most respectful syndicate I've ever come across.
Nice.
If somebody's got something going, i.e. Terry last year, everybody left him alone. Nobody would go in that swim. Nobody would ask you know, or look at your line angles, how far you cast it. Nobody would ask, wouldn't even dream of it. And I love that. Right? It's just so alien to the way carp fishing is these days. It's got like stepping back to when I was in my 20s, you know. But there again, there weren't that many carp anglers then. Christ, I fished Brooklands back in the day at Dartford. Maybe 3 of us. Look at it now. And the 3 of us that were there was probably me, Jack Hilt, and Bill Quinlan, and maybe Roger Smith.
Wow.
So you made friends of these, you know. I hate to sort of call them gods of carp fishing, but you know,
The Godfathers.
The word legend, yeah. A guy who we both know, I won't say his name, but he does a bit of filming or whatever, and he walked into a cafe that I was in over on one of the other waters a couple of weeks ago, and started calling me a legend. Oh, I'm still alive. Rod's a legend, Roger Smith's a legend, Jack Hilt's a legend, Bill Quinlan's a massive legend, you know, Tom Minchin, all these names, they're all legends, they're all bloody dead, you know. I'm not yet, not quite, you know.
A living legend.
No, no such thing, good grief. You know, did they call Hercules a living legend when he was alive? No, they waited till he was dead, you know. And please wait till I'm dead. Then you can call me what you like. You know, I mean, some of the people I know would call me something else, you know? But because I've trodden on a few toes in the past, as you do.
Well, when you've been fishing as long as you have, mate.
Yeah, 58 years now, mate, carp fishing.
Wow.
58 years, where it's gone, you know? It's gone in the blink of an eye. And this is, yeah, I mean, I've got a cut. We mentioned his name. I've got a young mate, and he is young. And when I'm in my proper dotage, you know, we were talking about this on the phone the other night after you'd had fish. When I'm in my proper dotage, I will be fishing vicariously through him. You know, I will be phoning him every day, you know, nagging the granny out of him to tell me exactly what's happening, you know, because I won't be able to do it. But no, at the moment, yeah, I can get away with it. You know, it's.
Well, you're still doing it, and you're still loving it, and
I've still got the burn.
That's it.
I drive away from here thinking, I don't want to go. How soon can I get back? You know, and I do fish every week. You know, I normally fish Mondays through till Friday. You know.
And how many years has that been for?
Various syndicates with different rules. You know, you could only do 72 hours or something. You know, but then I'd work it. I could do 72 hours. However long the time off was, 48 hours. I'd do the 48 hours off and bosh, I'd be back again. You know, so probably still, I'm doing 5 days every week. You know, and that suits me. I don't know. Yeah, mate, jokingly, you know, it has been said, you know, well, you're bloody slow. So you need the time. Yeah. Well, maybe that's right. I don't know, but no, I'm not really. I mean, I'm fairly. You watched me put the rods out earlier on. I know it's easy doing what I'm doing because I've got permanent canes and I know exactly where my lead's going to land.
It was like poetry in motion.
You know, I always dunk it a little bit, just to, you know, where they're foamed up. I've got. That's the one. You know, drop it, run away a little bit, sit still, up fox the foam. That rig's fallen over, I know I'm fishing perfect, you know, and I can run back on a straight line, motor on like 3/4 capacity, straight back to the rods. Jerry again. It's easy that way, you know. I haven't got to look over the side and drop it, you know, which I've done, don't get me wrong, you know, until I devise what I'm doing. But once I'm out there with the cane, I know the length of my boat, I know the length of my rod, I can position it perfectly, you know. Bonk, bonk, that's the one, you know. And it's easy. You know, Christ, you couldn't get any easier. In fact, I've been doing it for so long now, I probably can't cast anymore. I mean, I'm taking a couple of northern guys out on a tuition in June, and one of the things they want me to do is to teach them how to feel a lead down. I've probably bloody forgot.
Brilliant. Well, we've got a few days ahead of us, and yeah, plenty of time to chew the fat. So I'm looking forward to hearing a few of your stories.
Oh, I've got a multitude of silly stories. Yeah, that I'm good at. It's a pleasure to have somebody over who appreciates what we've got here. You know, I swear by Friday you'll be gagging to, you know, as I said, Piers is coming over tonight. You know, you'll be gagging. Can I have a ticket? I honestly can I have a ticket. You know, because he's the reason he's let some of us on. Right, there's me, there's Jerry Hammond, Terry Hearn, and Tim. I don't know his second name, good actor. And he's basically got us on here because he doesn't know exactly what this place can produce.
Right.
He only knows what he's put in. And certainly a couple of fish I've seen are originals from before Piers took the Syndicate on. So yeah, what are they going to produce? You know, we discussed this earlier. I've seen one. I won't even put a weight on it, but I've had fish to over £60 in England, over £70 abroad. I know sort of what I'm looking at. Yeah. And I've had 8 UK 50s. Yeah, I'm not a stranger to a big fish. You know, and that thing nearly knocked me out of the tree. You know, or off my ladder, I should say.
Wow.
Yeah, I just went, woof, you know, my eyes just bugged, you know, what am I looking at, you know? And I discussed it with Piers from up the tree, fumbling for my phone. Should have taken some pictures of it, really. But I was so buzzed and blown away that all I could do was mumble down the phone to him. You know, he said, describe it. Ooh, it's a carp. That's about all I could get out initially. But he seems to think it was one that had swam in front of his boat at one stage a few years back. And he said, no, it is that long. You know, because my boat is one of these. And its arse was that end and its head was out that end. You know? Right. It's a long fish, you know. And it's also got depth and throat and a big old slopey head, and you know, no record had ever been caught.
Insane. So how old's the lake then?
Jesus Christ, it was built when, you know,
when the road.
No motorway. Yeah, I mean, Terry did, you know, because you know Terry and his research, he found some old Google photographs of it, and before the trees. But yeah, you can see how old the trees are now. So it's been here for a long time. You know, it's an old established pit. And it's dug in a strange way. It wasn't drag dug, and it wasn't bucket dug. It's weird. They seem to have just cherry picked because of the features. You know, you go, oh, why did they do that? You know, out here, where my left-hand cane is, it's where the plateauy bar bends round slightly, and then towards the island there's what Jerry and I now call the atoll, because he started calling it a plateau, which was confusing me with what this is. I said, what do you mean the plateau? The plateau's here. No, that one out. No. So we decided to call it the atoll, so we know what, you know, different. And there's a channel between the atoll and my elongated plateauy bar.
Right.
And that's where the left-hand cane is. Again, an obvious patrol route, you know, through a gully with a big old weed bed that bends round in like a semi-arc, and plateau bar, weed bed, gully. Hello, Carp. You know, Carp motorway. And that cane is right in the middle of it. Although that's the cane that's done the least bites over the last year and a half. I think I've only taken 3 fish off of that. The one, or the 2, those Syndicate, they're the ones that do the most.
Any particular bite times? First thing in the morning?
Mainly during the daylight. I've only had 2 night bites, or 2 night fish, let's put it that way. The rest of it's all been during the day, any time of the day. Mornings, I suppose predominantly, but I've had them at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Sometime sometimes of the year I leave the baits out probably 36, 40 hours, because it seems that once all those braids are settled, they will move through, and if I see something come, they tend to come in short to go to the bar, but it's massively weedy, so virtually nowhere to fish. If I see them coming through short and going into the bay, I will then leave the rods out an extra 12 hours or so, because I think then they turn around and come back out the way I want them to. I seem to catch them, I think, on their way out of the bay,
Right.
not on the way in, which probably I'm right. I think I'm right, because I've seen the way they approach. Well, later in the year I'll put a ladder up that tree there, and you sit there. There's a little seat up there. I'll just straddle that, sort of sit there like God, looking down at the water. And yeah, everything I've seen going in there comes in short.
Okay.
And everything going out seems to follow that line out. So yeah.
Cool. Well, fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. It's my round for the tea, isn't it?